everyone, my name is Holly, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you all of the books that I read in October. So I read a total of 6 books and 4 graphic novels this month. I am very proud of myself. I definitely read a little bit more than I normally would. I am just in the biggest reading mood at the moment. In fact, I've been pushing away my art lately to read, which isn't quite the best thing right now. But yeah, I just want to read all day, every day. And I just need to do what my heart tells me to, and that is to read. So the very first book that I read this month, and it was actually a pre-order, so I had to read it immediately, was The Language of Thorns by Leigh Bardugo. In all seriousness though, I absolutely loved this book. Everything about this book, from the words to the drawings to the stories, is just absolutely stunning and beautiful, and pretty much every synonym that goes along with beautiful is this book. It was that good. I have admired Leigh Bardugo's writing before, but this one definitely takes the cake with cherries on top. It really felt like I was reading actual fairy tales, which is a very big accomplishment for Leigh Bardugo, because this is her first set of short stories which take place in the Grishaverse. If you haven't read any book in the Grishaverse yet, please do that. It is an absolutely stunning and amazing world, and it was just so awesome to jump into these stories that are set in that world. And I was really wary actually, because we've really never seen Leigh Bardugo do these really short stories, and man, she nailed it. You got ones that are like Hansel and Gretel or Beauty and the Beast and The Little Mermaid, except they are extremely dark and twisted. My kind of fairy tales. And yes, I know that the original fairy tales are dark, but Leigh Bardugo, there is something about the way that she wrote them is just mind-blowing. No rainbows, sunshine, or puppies in this book, kiddos. The only possible negative thing I have to say about it is the last story. It wasn't my favorite, so I did end up giving this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I still absolutely loved it. The next book I picked up, which was also a pre-order, was An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. This is a case where the cover is 1,000,000 times more beautiful than what's inside the book. I have been highly anticipating this book since the beginning of the year. I've probably had it pre-ordered for that long, so I was incredibly excited to read it when it showed up at my doorstep. It began beautifully. We are introduced to Isabel, who is a very young and sweet girl who has the talent to paint portraits for the Fae, and she is very good at it. But once we are introduced to Rook, who is the Prince of the Autumn Court, it really fell apart from there. Don't get me wrong, Margaret's writing is absolutely beautiful, and she depicts the images of this book into your head so very well. Her words roll off your tongue like butter. But this book was so boring, and it basically consisted of our 2 main characters bickering through the woods pretty much the first half of the book, and it was pretty annoying. I literally got to page 200 and thought, wait, what is the point to all of this? There is no plot at all. There is absolutely nothing. There is no goal here. In fact, this book only centers around Isabel and Rook. It completely relies on this weird romance. There's pretty much no other cast of characters to root for or to rely on, not even to get any refreshing personalities from, since Rook and Isabel pretty much have a personality of a wet Pop-Tart. There is no political intrigue like the book promises, even with all of these courts popping up in random conversations. I need proof, man. My heart is broken because of this book. Maybe my expectations were too high, or maybe this is just a really bad A Court in Thorns or Roses fanfiction. Fae, seasonal courts, main character held prisoner, main character an artist. Yeah, I'll go with the latter. If you're looking for romance and only romance, this is for you, but if you want something more, I'd skip this one. So I ended up giving this one a 2 out of 5 stars. Man, I was really brutal with that one. So next, I participated in the Get Graphic Readathon, and I ended up reading 4 graphic novels, so let's move on to those. So the first graphic novel I ended up picking up was Monstrous Volume 1 by Marjorie Liu, and I have never read a graphic novel with such an expansive world. Like, holy crap, there was so much lore that it was incredibly fascinating. The story was a little bit hard to follow because of this, but it all unfolds as you read. The story begins with our main character, Micah, and she is being sold as a slave to a witch named Sophia. Come to find out, Micah actually put herself into this situation on purpose so that she can infiltrate the city of Zamora, a city where human witches capture arcanic slaves, all for experimental testing. Thus begins our main character's tale. This world is incredibly dark and gruesome and very depressing for that matter, but there are cute animal people and talking snarky cats, which makes you feel a bit better. Another big pro is that this graphic novel is extremely diverse. Just flipping through the pages, you can see all of the different hues of skin tones, and I very much appreciated this. All in all, it was amazing. It ended on a cliffhanger, so I am majorly kicking my butt for not having volume 2 in hand. But yes, I ended up giving this one a 5 out of 5 stars. The next set of graphic novels I ended up picking up was Rat Queens Volume 1 by Curtis J. Weeb, and I also read Volume 2 and Volume 3, but I don't own those ones yet. Who are the Rat Queens, you ask? A pack of booze-guzzling, death-dealing, battle maidens for hire, and they're in the business to kill all of God's creatures for profit. There is aggressive humor, kick-ass female friendships, and a pack of ladies who don't give a crap what others think about them. What else do you need? Magic? Well, guess what? This graphic novel series is full of that as well. Realistic body image? You can check that off the list too. Different sexual orientations? Hell yeah. I absolutely loved reading this first novel. It was hilarious. I needed to go on to the second volume, which I did, and then I went on to the third one, and I ended up giving all of them, I think, 4.5 out of 5 stars. They were all great. I highly recommend checking them out. The next book I ended up picking up was Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendar Blake. I picked this one up because one of my all-time favorite booktubers recommended it, so I knew I had to read it immediately, and I did. Track, hunt, kill. This is what Cass was born to do. It's in his blood. Like his father before him, who died a gruesome death out on a hunt, Cass is a ghost hunter, moving place to place with his mother to hunt murderous ghosts. And I'll be honest, he is one swoony character. When he arrives in Thunder Bay, only one thing is on his mind, and that is Anna dressed in blood. And the anticipation killed me. I had to meet Anna. And when they do finally meet, holy crap, Anna is one terrifying ghost. Ever since Anna died, she has killed anyone who steps one foot into the home that she haunts, but for some reason she ends up sparing Cass's life. So why did she spare Cass? That's basically the mystery that surrounds this whole book. Kendar Blake has an excellent writing style, and I found myself flying through the pages. I would read for like 10 minutes. I didn't even realize that I had gone like 40 pages. I was like, holy crap, I'm reading this super fast. Her words are like butter, and I absolutely love it when that happens. This was a perfect October read. It was creepy, funny, and it was awesome. And I ended up giving this one 4.5 out of 5 stars. So since I read that book, I obviously had to go on to the second one, which is Girl of Nightmares by Kendar Blake, Book 2 of Anna Dressed in Blood. So this book starts off a few months after the amazing ending of the first book, and it definitely kind of goes in a different direction than I was expecting. I didn't quite feel the same strength in the plot as I did the first one, and because of that, I ended up giving this one a 3 out of 5 stars. I still really liked it, but it just didn't have that same feel as the first one. The next book I picked up was totally spur of the moment. It wasn't even in my October TBR, and that was The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. That's right, this is an arc for The Cruel Prince. It doesn't even come out until January 2018. Thank you again, Margot, for sending this to me. I love you so much. This is a book that I am incredibly excited for everyone to read when it comes out in January. It was pretty amazing. Jude, her twin sister, and her older sister with the pointy ears were living a totally normal human life when a strange green man shows up at their home and kills their parents. He then takes them off to the land of fairies, and he ends up raising them as his own kids. Cut to 10 years later, later where we see Jude completely accustomed to living this life. But not all folk are thrilled about humans. Jude and her sister are horribly bullied by the High King's prince and his friends. Taryn just wants to live the simple life and get married, while Jude wants to be a knight for the High King's court, which leads to some risky decision making and some glorified deaths. This book was dark and incredibly beautiful. My only fault with it was that the first half, maybe 60% through the whole book, was quite a bit sluggish. I was just waiting for some cutthroat deaths like Game of Thrones has, since it is being compared to Game of Thrones, but we really don't see anything at all until about 60% through the book. Normally when this happens, my rating is greatly decreased because I grow bored, but not with this book. I actually still loved it even though it was quite a bit slower. I absolutely fell in love with the world building. I fell in love with Jude. I thought she was an amazing character and she develops so well throughout this whole book. I absolutely loved it. And now I am so mad at myself that I have to wait probably until 2019 to read the second one, and this book's ending is so cruel. I'm definitely gonna have to do a reread, but that's totally fine with me because I ended up giving this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Man, there is a lot of 4.5s today. The final book I ended up picking up in October is The Glass Arrow by Kristen Simmons. So I totally picked this book up thinking that it was a fantasy, and it's not. This is a dystopian, and this cover just totally lies because doesn't it look like a fantasy to you? It definitely looks like one to me. So this book features a dystopian society where women are property and their population is kept under control by a census where female babies are put to death if the census is too high. Where a lot of readers will probably find this plot really offensive, I oddly found it very interesting. This is the first Simmons book that I have ever read, and I will be honest and say that I am a very big fan of her writing. There are twists and turns that I just wasn't expecting, but I did grow a bit restless in certain parts of the book. Some of the parts were a bit slow and hard for me to get through, but other than that, I was fascinated by the world Simmons created. It's horrifying yet captivating at the same time, and I was really interested in any information that the book gave about the world. There were strange gadgets and class systems and history references. I really enjoyed how well developed the world was. But again, there were just certain parts of the book that I kind of had to skim, and because of that, I ended up giving this one a 3 out of 5 stars. So those were all the books that I read in October. Tell me down below all the books that you read because I would love to know. Give this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on Instagram. I am at HollyHeartsBooks. And until we meet again, happy reading.